Hey everybody, this is Mike Finnen from Buttonwood Tutoring, and today I am here to help you with your SIE FINRA testing. I'm going to end up doing wind up doing a full over a 10,000 foot overview of the material. This is not, this is not a substitute for reading, which I'll talk about a little more. But this is something that is a supplement, as all the extra videos are. Reading the book is everything. So just give you an idea on my credentials. I worked 37 years on the New York Stock Exchange as a floor trader. I was a principal in several broker-dealers. I ran the New York Stock Exchange operation for a sizable investment bank for a while. Retired in 2021. I had held the SIE, the 6, the 7, the 63, the 66 estate tests, 14, which was compliance, 24 supervisory, 27 CFO also, and several trading licenses that I had to have at that time. My main background is I did institutional sales trading for some big hedge funds, pension funds, all institutional orders. I had a little bit of options trading and a little bit of bond trading because with the firms that I had, we would sometimes hire people who had those kind of that kind of sales background, and we could do some of those. But my primary background is from equity side, and I was a compliance officer, and obviously I was a principal, so I ran the firm. So one of the things that you find with me is that I am probably one of the few tutors you'll run into who's actually done everything, almost everything in these in on these tests in real life at some point, one way or the other. As I said, reading the book is the first step. I have been teaching for 5 years now, give or take. And the biggest battle that I have with people is that they don't want to read the book. And part of it is like, I won't get into the whole thing of it, but I've discovered that it seems like reading is semi-optional in college now. So between the AI and professors leaving tests on the internet and all the little secrets, little things going on with everybody, people are actually getting by for 4 years without reading. But on these tests, these FINRA tests, these are hard. These are hard tests. It's hard to do that. You really, you have to do it. And let's be honest, right? So you always see these stories on Reddit and on the internet, or maybe you're in your office even, right? Of people sitting there saying, "Oh, I just took a bunch of questions for a week and then I passed the test and I passed them all in one shot." It is primarily, let's just, I don't want to use the word BS, but it's BS for the most part. And maybe it's just the rule, it's the exception that proves the rule. 99%, 95% of the people who take these tests can't shortcut it, cannot shortcut it. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, the SIE, you might be able to shortcut a little. There are people who have just watched videos and gotten by, but it's rare. And one of the things I've had, a couple of things that comes to mind is that the definition of insanity. So I have a contract with a pretty sizable insurance slash um, investment advisor, and one of the battles I've had is people who have failed. They come to me after they failed three SIEs, twice Series 6, whatever, and they still won't read the book. And I try to explain to them the definition of insanity is, repeating the same behavior over and over and expecting a different result. And that is definitely something that happens with this test. And again, part of it is that you can go on Reddit, you can go on sites, or you can talk to people in the office. Always the men, by the way, always the men, always telling the stories about how they banged this thing out, no problem. Um, but they'll tell you the stories about how it only took them a week or it's taking you so long. I'm going to use two analogies here to get you, hopefully get you past that point. If you had a professor that was teaching a class and he was the one who had to know everything, and you found out that his actual credentials to pass the test, giving that question test were 20 years ago, he passed a test once on the subject and he might have gotten a 71. Would you be listening to that person as your guru or your expert or your mentor? So what I say is, the reading materials that come, the study material that's come, usually talks about it. Also, look, talk to professionals who actually have done this with a lot of people. Like I've done a lot, or my brother, or Capital Advantage Tutoring has done a lot. Even the Series 7 Guru, all the different kind of people who've done past masters, all the different kind of outlets that have dealt with thousands of students. That's who you want to be getting your information from as far as studying. Now, one of the other things that people always ask is how long should I study? And my take on it is, it's been said 30 days for a 25-year career. I think it's more like 40 days, but we'll go with that. But the recommended amount of time for the SIE is 70 to 100 hours from saying you're starting from scratch is 70 to 100 hours. And the second part of that I put up is that you can't stretch that over 5, 6 months. It's not going to work, right? So I always say, all right, listen, imagine that you're a boxer, right? And I got you the middleweight championship fight on September 15th. No, it's already in July. So on October 15th, I got you the middleweight championship fight. And I say to you, look, we got to study for 5 weeks. We got to train for 5 weeks getting ready for this match. And you say, okay, yeah, that sounds great. I'm in. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready to go. Because everybody's always good to go once. It's can they do it over time, right? So the first week, of boxing, you're hitting a speed bag, hitting a heavy bag. You're running 5 miles a day. And then this fifth, seventh days, eighth day, you say to me, look, my buddies are going to Las Vegas next week, and I really like to go with them. So I'm gonna go jump off with them for 5 days. But as soon as I get back, we're back at it. So you leave, then you come back, and as soon as you come back after a week off in Vegas, and we all know how long a week in Vegas is, I can just it'll kill you. So then you come back and you say, okay, let's go. You start training again. We're hitting the speed bag. We're running Rocky style. Dun, 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 dun. You got a log on your back. You're good to go. Then you say, hey, my wife was so mad at me that I went to Las Vegas. I got to go away with her to Bermuda for a week. But as soon as I get back, we're ready to go. Okay. So you go away for a week, come back to train again, maybe 2 weeks, train again. And then the next time after a week of hard training, hear, yeah, listen, my kids are furious at me that I went to Vegas with my buddies. I went with my wife to Bermuda, and now I have to take them to Disney World for a week. But as soon as I get back, we're going to train like crazy. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be amazing. So long story short, we get to October 14th, the night before the fight. We're in the big suite in Caesar's Palace, ready to take on whoever we're taking on. And you say, Coach Banners, that was great. We did it. Hey Mick, we trained for 5 weeks. It was amazing. And I go, you didn't train for 5 weeks. You trained 1 week 5 times. Big difference. Big difference. So the analogy of this becomes pick a time you can do. You're not gonna, like don't start deciding unless you're somebody who can do this. December 13th, I'm going to get my 5 weeks in. Well, that takes into Christmas, New Year's Day, whatever. Get a block of time where that month you can dedicate yourself to doing this because it is enough work to have to do that. As I said, 70 to 100 hours. What does that come out to? That's like 2 hours a day for 30, 35 days. Now, what I also count on is there's going to be some days you might miss, but the adrenaline and the fear is a factor here, right? The fear at the end is going to become what also motivates you to do maybe a little more at the end. Now, one of the things we don't want to do though is if you think you can study, I mean, are there people who can do this? Yes, but this isn't like college. Okay. If you're going to plan is go, I'm going to jam 6 or 7 hours a day into 5 days, you're going to get diminishing returns after a couple hours each time. This is not one of those things that you can just ram through for 7 hours straight. It's too difficult for that. In all honesty, I teach some days 10 hours a day. I can tell you by hour six, I'm punchy. And I've been doing it a long time. And that's not nearly as much as I need to have. I don't need to have nearly the energy to learn that you would be as you're learning it. So my thing to you to say is I say 2, 3 hours at a clip at the most. That'll be very effective. But during those 2 or 3 hours, you're going to play ball. You're going to do what you need to do. If you find that things are just getting too difficult for you or you're getting buried under it, some of the things that you can possibly do is find buddies to study with, find other people either in your group or even reach out to see if you can put a study group together. Or you could always go and try to find a tutor. I offer tutoring semi-group private and semi-private through buttonwoodtutoring.com. My brother at Capital Advantage Training, they do all kinds of private stuff, and he's even got a subscription that people do to get there's classes. It's a lot less expensive to get some help. So, don't feel like you're alone on this. There are people to reach out to get the help. And as I said, one of the best ways to do it is find other people, hopefully in your group, that are also doing this and study together. It makes it a little more fun. This stuff's boring, man. For the most part, this stuff's pretty boring and repetitious and ridiculous, right? I mean, this is like a lot of this comes down to like the same thing being said three or four times. They have a tendency. FINRA is the great repeater, right? Four words for the same thing will drive you nuts. So it's better doing it with other people. There's a certain amount of, okay, everybody's in the same boat together and we can get this done. Okay, now we're going to start getting down to the nuts and bolts of the SIE and what the SIE is. And I'm going to pop up on the screen this is the um, stop share. So now we're going to go to the beginning of the slideshow that I use to to present the material. And there are 24 screens. There are 24 screens on this.